Hi, I'm astrologer Penny Dix, and welcome to another Astro Bite. And this one, of course, has to be about slowdown in communications, our devices playing up. Yes, it's time for another Mercury retrograde. And I'm recording this on Friday, July the 18th, and Mercury goes retrograde today. So I am giving you the absolute on-the-point insight to the chart and everything that measures this point in time today and how that's going to unfold for all of us over the next few weeks. First of all, let me give you the dates because that's quite important. Now, we've already been in what is known as the pre-shadow period, and that started on July the 5th, 2025. Retrograde today, the 18th, until August the 12th. And then it stations direct on the 12th of August, but it doesn't come out of its shadow until August the 26th. And it will go between the degrees of around 14, 15 degrees of Leo today, all the way back to 4 degrees of Leo. So first of all, what we need to do is unpack these energies, have a look at what they're about, then look at how this may affect us. I'm also going to give each sign, each zodiac sign, don't get excited, they are not time-stamped because I'm giving literally the house and the theme for each sign. Remember, sun sign as well as rising sign. It'll just be like Aries, 5th house, creativity and romance, and that'll be it. So it really would not be sensible to timestamp them, and it's good for your attention span to listen to all the signs. And also you can reflect on people you know, friends you know, and think, that's where this Mercury retrograde is going to be affecting them. So there's always another way to look at these things. So first of all, let's just have a look at the planet Mercury. What do we know about it? It rules Gemini, it rules Virgo, it's about communication, it's about thought, it's about ideas, it's about social media. It can also be to do with mechanical things, all your white goods, washing machines, dishwashers, coffee machines, kettles, all your technical devices, your laptops, your tablets, your mobile phones, all of these come under the rulership of Mercury. And also, Mercury can be that overthinking and ruminating as we go back over a scenario. But it's in Leo. Now, Leo, of course, is fixed fire. Leo has passion. It is heart-centered because, of course, it rules the heart and it is ruled by the sun. So Mercury in Leo is really going to have an effect on how we come across to people in general. It's going to affect our performance level. And performance level can be in anything, because it can be in just a one-to-one discussion, how we put our information across around the topic that it might be working its way through in your natal chart. But before I get into that, let's just remind ourselves of what Leo represents, because it is about being very self-expressive. It's about courage and leadership. It can be about romance and creativity. And Leo, by its very nature, desires recognition. So Leo energy at the moment is going to find it perhaps a little bit tougher to get the validation or the recognition that it desires. And we may find that if we are giving a presentation, doing a video, anything of this nature, that we feel on some level we don't quite get our point across. Hopefully today I managed to get the point of Mercury going retrograde across. Excuse me, there you go. You see, a Mercury retrograde, little tickle in my throat, is preventing me from speaking. And interestingly, I've got basically a phrase to go with Mercury retrograde and quotes to represent them, which is not being heard, or feeling one is not being heard. So stick around for that. That comes at the end. Now, let's just have a look at the chart first, because the chart sets a point in time. It's like the curtain goes up on the stage, and that's very appropriate with Leo, and we see who the players are, where they are, whom they're talking to, and that will give us an indication of why Mercury is choosing to go backwards at this moment, and what Mercury is wanting us to have another look at, relook, renegotiate, rethink. So Mercury, as it goes retrograde, is actually sextiling Venus in Gemini, the sign it rules. So there's something here about a slowing down, time to think, especially to get in touch with the more intuitive side of our thinking. We may have been rushing ahead in our thoughts, getting caught in the mind. Venus brings in that intuitive edge of the feminine. And Venus is really saying, sort of, let's take our time. Let's help Mercury reconnect with the intuition, with the gut feeling, with the heart center, which is Leo, because the heart is our second brain, and the heart feels, and the heart senses. And the heart, I'm sure you've all had the experience, if you get a shock or bad news, that the heart breaks. You can feel the pain go through this area of the body, as if the heart is really breaking. So it's a sextile. So Venus is saying, listen more to your intuition. Mercury has been galloping ahead through Leo, through this creative, theatrical, buoyant sign, fiery and creative. And Venus is saying, that's fine, but don't lose sight of that inner knowing. Don't lose sight of what you sense on an inner level. This Mercury retrograde is enabling you to pause, to slow down, and to actually think about what's been going on over the last few months, and thinking about, have I actually overthought a particular situation that I'm stuck in the ruminations of it, and of getting caught in a cycle like a hamster wheel of thinking, where you just don't know what to do for the best, where it might have been blocking you from making a decision. My feeling is this Mercury retrograde is going to slow you down enough to be able to take a step back and actually think, oh, actually I can see it better now. I can see what my direction is, what my decision. This is where a slowdown can be so helpful, because it slows us down enough to tune into the higher frequencies that are filtering all the time through our soul being and connecting with our heart chakra and our heart, and telling us that we do know what we want to do, or what direction we need to go in, where we need to focus our energies. We do know that. The other energy that we need to look at as Mercury goes retrograde is Pluto retrograde in Aquarius is sextiling both Saturn and Neptune, who are a degree apart of a conjunction in Aries, both retrograde. So you've got all three retrograde. They are also taking us back. We're being taken back to the month that's popped into my head is March. That's just intuitive. It's taking us back to spring, to March, to saying, like, what were you trying to manifest then? What were you trying to achieve? Did it just get nowhere? Did it just die a death? Go back and re-look at it and see how you can retweak it. Maybe those delays were timely, the delays you've experienced over the last few months, because the timing was not right for that particular dream. And Saturn, which of course, as we know, is all about timing, conjunct Neptune, that dream that you want to manifest, sextiled, helpfully sextiled by Pluto, is saying, this can move. This plan you have or idea you have that seems to have been shelved, which is kind of like a real misnomer with it being retrograde. It's like the retrograde is actually giving a gift and saying, now you've slowed down enough to see the truth of what you want to unfold. You know. You will know by the time Mercury leaves its retrograde phase exactly the direction that you wish to be going in. And the doubts that you had over the last few months will have, with Neptune's energies, just dissipated and dissolved. And there's something about these retrograde energies, because they're taking us back to a time earlier in the year when we were making plans. And I think this Mercury retrograde is really giving us time to give really good, strong legs to these intentions that we have wished to manifest and have somehow eluded us. So that's going on in the chart. And the other energy which is worth mentioning is that Mars, that is in Virgo, coming up to be conjunct the South Node in Virgo, is going to be squaring Venus in Gemini. And remember again, Gemini is ruled by Mercury. And Mercury is about communication. And Mercury is going retrograde. Mars coming up to conjunct the South Node, and I'm going to do a separate video about this after the weekend. It's like the chicken's coming home to roost, but in a good way. It's like, at last, my hard work, my patience, my diligence, my attention to the details is going to pay off. It may not be till the retrograde ends and is out of shadow, which is, what did I say the date was? Which is beyond the 26th of August. That's not long, actually. It's only about 5 or 6 weeks. So it's an interesting retrograde, and it gives us a chance to just rewind things, rethink how we express ourselves. What do we really want? What are we creatively trying to manifest? and to remind us through that Venus-Mercury trine to, was it a trine? Hang on, I've forgotten. Sextile, sorry. The Venus-Mercury sextile, to follow our heart, follow our gut. If there's something you're trying to manifest and it just isn't falling into place, think back to when you first wanted to initiate this. What was your feeling? If you thought of, let's say you've got to make a decision about either you do something or you don't do something. At the time, if you asked yourself, if I don't do this, how am I going to feel? And if I do this, how am I going to feel? That tells you a lot about what you can reconnect with in this retrograde. So if I don't do this, how am I going to feel? Supposing it's, oh my God, no, I don't want that. And if I do this, how am I going to feel? Oh yeah, that feels good. That's your scales. That's your way of balancing it. That's your way of finding your way through this Mercury retrograde minefield and identifying what you truly feel. So I think this is a good retrograde. And when I go through the individual signs, which will take about 10 seconds each, I add, you'll know for you, for your sun sign and your rising sign, which area of life you can expect this to manifest in. So, what else can you ask yourself with Mercury retrograde in Leo? Ask yourself, am I being authentic? Am I truly speaking from my heart center? Am I able to challenge, by connecting with my heart center, my ego-driven, mind-based ideas, as opposed to what I know intuitively to be right? Leo, remember, is also about children and childhood. So there could be events that come up through discussion or memories around being validated as a child. You know, do you remember in the old days there were sort of these quotes, you know, children should be seen and not heard, and how there was so much restriction on children expressing themselves. And these become wounds for us more mature people. And it's about being heard and being seen. Am I heard? Am I understood? Am I seen? Do people really see me? Do they know who I am? And through the reflection of going back over these things, it can make it easier to find the confidence that you perhaps lost touch with over the years, as those memories have eroded your sense of self-esteem. Now, we have to remember that Leo, of course, rules romance and love affairs. So anyone want a lover from the past turning up? If he or she is going to show up, it's going to be now, or certainly over the next few weeks. So if that's what you're thinking for or looking for, don't be surprised. It could happen. And but I think there's a caveat with that, which is actually be a little bit circumspect. Be careful. Remember why you're not with them. Remember why you didn't choose them. Remember what that was really about, because sometimes we can get caught into the imagination and the fantasy of the romance, rather than remembering the reality of the situation, and have the two of you really got anything in common. So that's one manifestation of this energy. So I think we have to be cautious about rekindling any old friendships or relationships. Remember why they're not in your life now. So if they resurface, is that really what you want? So remember, of course, with Mercury retrograde, we do have to always make sure our devices are backed up, safe, charged, all the rest of it. And maybe consider how we do want to be heard. And I think if an old flame did show up, the mindful way of dealing with it would be to look at it circumspectly and think, is this actually about something that needs to be healed rather than reopened? Is this something about closure with this person? So it's an interesting thought. So now you're going to get your 10 seconds per sign, per rising sign and sun sign, to tell you the area of your chart the Mercury retrograde is in. You're probably all cursing and swearing at me. Oh, I've got to listen to all of them. Yes, it's good for you. We have to slow down. We're in retrograde season. It's about taking our time. So if this Mercury retrograde is, if you're an Aries sun or an Aries rising sign, it is in your 5th house, which is a Leo house, remember, and it's about creativity, children, and love affairs. That's it. So a lot of what I was saying in the main overview really could apply to you, Aries. For you, Taurus, sun in Taurus, rising sign in Taurus, is in your 4th house of home and family. So it's about your home environment, moving, staying, going, family dynamics, or maybe even thinking about childhood. And as a Taurus sun, I'm thinking, maybe I will get some movement around my wish to relocate. Gemini, sun in Gemini, rising sign in Gemini. 3rd house of communication. Well, this is a tricky one because it's your house anyway. And it does mean communication breakdowns, delays in travel, and also, though, you could reconnect with old friends or siblings that you've perhaps been out of touch with. Now, what about Cancer? Sun in Cancer or rising sign in Cancer? 2nd house of finance. Well, you might be looking at your accounts, your piggy bank, your bank accounts or account, and just doing a little bit of an overhaul and a review. And be mindful, Cancer, not to overspend to prove how wonderful you are or what a good friend you are, because there's something here about self-worth. Okay. Leo, well, it's in your sign, it's in your house. So this is for sun in Leo or for rising sign in Leo. It's all about your identity. I think you'll be giving serious thought as to how you present yourself and whether you need to change anything to make yourself just feel a little bit better about yourself. But be mindful, a little bit like with Cancer, don't overspend to prove how valuable you are. Have some faith that people see that without you proving it. Virgo, 12th house. This is your inner reflection. This is where you retreat. This is giving you a chance to go within and really examine the inner workings of your psyche and look at what you may be having a crisis of doubt about. Now let's look at Libra, sun in Libra or rising sign in Libra. So this is your 11th house of groups, larger groups, of technology, of those higher frequencies. This is suggesting that you do reconnect with old friends and old groups and look at some of the goals that you've got. And you might find that any confusion or illusion that you've had about the goals that you've had in place will disappear. So I think it's actually quite a good Mercury retrograde for you. Scorpio, for you, Sun in Scorpio or rising sign in Scorpio, this is your 10th house of career. So, of course, this is where you have to be super careful that you send the email complaining about your supervisor, not to the supervisor, and you don't send it to, that you send it to the colleague you wanted to send it to and not to the supervisor. In fact, don't put anything in writing. In fact, be very careful, Scorpio. And be careful because it could affect your public image. So this is really about being mindful and prudent. Sagittarius, this is for Sun in Sagittarius or for rising sign in Sagittarius. It's your 9th house. Travel, education, learning. This is about your spiritual direction and beliefs. You may be really going within and thinking, well, what do I believe? What evidence do I have? Do I really feel connected? That may be some of the things that come up for you, a real kind of reflecting on that. Now for you, Capricorn, Sun in Capricorn, rising sign in Capricorn, this is your 8th house. Now this, of course, is sex, death, intimacy, transformation, joint resources. So I think you've got to look at old debts. They may be emotional. There may be some emotional wounds in relationships that need to be healed, that you've just dusted under the carpet and thought they would go away. I think they're going to resurface. Let's have a look at Aquarius. Sun in Aquarius or rising sign in Aquarius. 7th house, relationships. Miscommunication in key relationships. Just slow down, Aquarius. Rethink how you can compromise with your other half, if you have one, and move forward together at the same speed. Now, the other thing that can happen with Mercury retrograde here is you hear from an old flame or an old love. And just be careful that doesn't become like putting a, fox in the chicken coop. So be careful. And finally, we come to Pisces, my oceans of emotions, for Sun in Pisces, rising sign in Pisces, 6th house, work, health, routine, pets, day-to-day happenings. So, you know what, Pisces? If you've been going through a bit of a tough time and you need a bit of help, please ask. So, I think before I go on to my phrase for the Mercury retrograde, I keep fiddling with it. I'm sorry, it keeps slipping down and it's annoying me. I should have put something different on. You see, Mercury retrograde, I've all gone discombobulated. Are you speaking from your ego or from your heart? Keep that in the forefront of your mind throughout this Mercury retrograde. And I think if you work at reclaiming forgotten confidence and get back in touch with creative expression to perhaps pass time to get you to the place where you want to be, you'll navigate this in general very well. And now I want to move on to my quote of not feeling heard, because I just feel this really epitomizes Mercury retrograde in Leo, because Leo wants to be heard. Leo wants to be center stage. So when Mercury is in Leo especially, we want to be heard. We want to be taken seriously. So, when we're not heard, it can make us feel incredibly lonely, invisible, depressed. It's very frustrating when we feel, even if it's not true, because remember, sometimes we think we're not heard, or we're overlooked, or we're overseen, when actually we are noticed. But it's a horrible place to be. And most of us have probably been in that position growing up at some point or other. So what about emotional invisibility and silence? Mother Teresa said, "The most terrible poverty is loneliness and the feeling of being unloved." You know, that's really interesting. What it's making me think is one of the things I've been ruminating about is my planned relocation to England. And finally, just before Mercury went retrograde, I had a eureka moment and I thought, oh yeah, I do want to do this. I really do. And part of that was because two of the people in my life that live over there, a friend and family member, said they wanted me to come home because they missed me and they wanted me there. And that did it for me. I just wanted to be wanted. And Rebecca McNutt said, being ignored is just like never being born. And it's not that I'm ignored here or anywhere, but I want to go somewhere where I'm wanted. And I'm sure there are people that want me in Gozo. But I want to be where my family are. And actually, as I'm saying that, I'm thinking that's really interesting because as a Sun Taurus, it means this Mercury retrograde is in my 4th house. So it really is making a decision that I want to go to my family. I want to go home. Simple as that. It's like the little child within, Leo. I want to go home. I will. I will. At the right time. When it's the right time, it will all fall into place. I have faith in that. Robin Williams, bless him, said this, and I think we all know this. I used to think the worst thing in life was to end up all alone. It's not. The worst thing in life is to end up with people that make you feel alone. And that is so true. And that is horrible. We've all experienced that. And it is just horrible. There's an unknown quote here, which is, you can scream at the top of your lungs and still not be heard. That is the loneliest feeling in the world. Dear, I'm sorry, they're all a bit depressing, aren't they? Maybe they cheer up as we go through. So now we've got some on not being truly listened to. Stephen R. Covey said, the biggest communication problem is we do not listen to understand. We listen to reply. And that is so true. That is why when one embarks on the process of being in therapy with a good, proper psychotherapist, it's usually the first experience we ever have of being seen and being heard. An unknown quote is, sometimes I just want someone to genuinely listen, not fix, not judge, not analyze, just listen. And that's the difference, I think, between the two sexes, because if we tell our problems to a man, they will try and find a solution for us, when actually what we want is just to say it. We don't necessarily want the solution, we just want to say it, get it out there. Whereas if we tell it to a therapist, they let us say it. And if we say it to a female friend, on the whole, most women friends will make us just let us say it and not find a solution. And bless them, the male sex. They want to be the hero. They want to save us. They want to rescue us. Sometimes we don't need rescuing, we just need listening to. Yasmin Mugahed said, "It's painful to speak when no one listens, but even more painful to remain silent because you know they won't understand." And another unknown here said, "My silence means I'm tired of explaining to people who don't care to understand." And that is so true. Then we've got some around the inner experience. There's an unknown. There are actually all three of these are unknown. Let's have a look at them. There's nothing worse than feeling invisible in a room full of people. Oh, that's true. That's why I hate parties where I don't know anyone. I just think, oh God, no, please, I'm not doing it. Another one is I talk to myself because I'm the only one who understands me. I think that's why I do these videos. I just talk to the camera. And another unknown is sometimes I feel like I'm shouting into a void, and the void just stares back, unimpressed. And actually, that's almost like trying to make things move quickly with Mercury retrograde. It ain't gonna happen. Just ain't gonna happen. And here we have the last three are the gentle longing we have to be understood. Victoria Erickson said, "What a relief it is to be seen and heard by someone who understands silence as much as speech." And an unknown is the feeling of not being heard is not about the volume of your voice, but the depth of your truth being dismissed. Yeah. And finally, we have Elizabeth Gilbert who said, "To be fully seen by somebody, then, and be loved anyhow. This is a human offering that can border on miraculous." Yeah, to be fully seen by somebody and be loved anyway. That's a human offering that borders on miraculous. When you love me and see me, warts and all. I show a few of my warts. I'm sure you've seen them and noticed them. And there we go. So we've got till the end of August when it comes out of shadow. Mercury retrograde. I wonder where we will be. So on that note, thank you so much for joining me for this astrobite. Fairly long, actually. I didn't mean it to be quite so long. I'm obviously wittering. And in the meantime, please remember, like, comment, subscribe. Thank you, all of you, for your comments, your subscribes, your likes. Thank you for joining this growing community. It really is so appreciated and so valued. And certainly, I hear all of you, even if you think I don't. I do. I know you're all there. I can see you're all there. So I will be back, all being well, with my live stream ahead on Sunday, the 20th of July. And that'll be for the week ahead. And there'll be more astrobites in the coming days. On that note, thanks so much for joining me. I'll see you soon. Bye for now. Bye.